Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a review, or a little talk/review, about conductor Kurt Sanderling. One of you requested that I do a little something on him because, thanks to my recommendations of, for example, his Berlin Classics Shostakovich cycle and some other things, people were kind of getting into him, or this gentleman was getting into him. And so I did want to say something about him because he was a wonderful conductor in parts, not a consistent conductor, I have to say, but a wonderful conductor, especially in the standard Germanic repertoire. Sanderling was one of those, he was sort of like a Klemperer type figure. He was a German Kapellmeister, Ottmar Sweetener, that crew, who wound up on the other side of the Iron Curtain after the Second World War. And so he spent a good bit of his early career in Russia, where he was actually conductor of the Leningrad Philharmonic, along with Mravinsky. And some of you will recall that Mravinsky had two recordings of Tchaikovsky's 4, 5, and 6, the stereo one and the mono one. And the mono one had a fifth, with Sanderling doing the fifth and Mravinsky doing 4 and 6. I think that's how it shook out. And that Sanderling fifth was always kind of like, compared to Mravinsky. In any case, it doesn't mean that he was worse. They were very, very different. They really were. So Sanderling could be, like Klemperer, one of those wonderful conductors in the standard German sort of granitic, that's always the word we use, isn't it, with Klemperer? Sober, austere, grim, kind of, humorless, but really intensely musical and gripping style. I mean, that was his thing. Sometimes it was wonderful. Sometimes it was just as flat-footed and uninteresting as anything you've ever heard in your life. For example, he did a Beethoven cycle in London that was on EMI that was just dreadfully dull. I mean, really, really dull. When he was on, he was on. When he wasn't, he wasn't. And so I would caution anybody who becomes interested in him against just going whole hog and trying to find everything you can, because there's a lot of disappointing stuff. And a case in point is this. This is one of the great Brahms cycles in the history of the universe. It's amazing. It's Sanderling with the Staatskapelle Dresden. It's on Eurodisc. Now, one of the problems we have with the Sanderling discography is that because he spent most of his career in Eastern Europe, it's all over the place. It's on different labels, especially when he got the Berlin Symphony, when he was in East Germany. It really is difficult to get it together. It goes in and out of print. This may be impossible to find right now, which is a pity because it's just an amazing Brahms cycle. First of all, he has the Staatskapelle Dresden, which is, amazing to have. Always wonderful. It was really the great German orchestra in the second half and probably the first half of the 20th century. I don't care about the Berlin Philharmonic and Karajan. The Staatskapelle Dresden was always better and very different sounding. The sound of this orchestra is much closer to other Eastern European orchestras like the Czech Philharmonic and all those people. It was a light, transparent, unblended sonority with amazing textural clarity. In Brahms, that's fabulous because the strings are marvelous. I mean, they were great players, but you also hear the winds, and the brass section didn't coagulate into a molten blob of gluey goop as they so often did under Karajan. And the Berlin Philharmonic, you don't have that heavy-duty sheen that Karajan produced, but what you have, I think, is a much more humane, musical, singing approach and far more character within each section because they weren't subjugated by the indomitable will of one megalomaniacal, being. So they made a wonderful, wonderful partner to Sanderling, who was like Sawallisch was another conductor in the same vein, who was one of those sort of let the music speak for itself guys. And does it speak? It's just a wonderful, wonderful Brahms cycle. However, he did another one with the Staatskapelle Berlin, I believe, or the Berlin Symphony, or whatever it was, his regular Berlin group, and it was just not anything like as good. It just wasn't. The orchestra contributed a lot, and it was Sanderling, that tendency to be stodgy. Karl Böhm was another one who was kind of like Sanderling. They're all in that school, that German school. And so I just want to caution you all to really be selective when you're dealing with Sanderling titles. This Brahms cycle was amazing. The Shostakovich recordings on Berlin Classics are fabulous, but he remade the 15th in Cleveland, along with a Mahler 9th and some other things that were really slow and heavy. Really, really slow and heavy. He did a digital Rachmaninoff Second Symphony that was also really slow and heavy and had cuts. And it was another one. There was a Leningrad one as well. It was he always cut the piece in strange places too. It was iffy. His Beethoven Piano Concerto cycle, on the other hand, with Mitsuko Uchida, is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenally great. He was a wonderful accompanist. He showed up, believe it or not, in Czechoslovakia with Zuzana Růžičková doing the Poulenc Concert Champêtre with the Czech Philharmonic. And it is the greatest performance of that ever, period. And you would think that of all the works Sanderling could never do, it would be the Poulenc Concert Champêtre. But he just plays it like it's Beethoven. And the result is incredible. Absolutely incredible. So it's a question of swings and roundabouts. As I said, you have to be selective. And if you can find this Brahms cycle, it represents the best of him, along with those Shostakovich recordings on Berlin Classics. There's no point in going crazy with a conductor like Sanderling and trying to collect everything you can get your hands on. You'll be disappointed, I think. I really do. But get his best stuff, and it's astonishingly marvelous, particularly in works of great seriousness and gravity. Yes, it's the gravity that he always projected very well. So there you go. There's a little bit on Sanderling, and hopefully that will at least guide you in a productive direction. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.